Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. With special thanks to Revenant, Alois, Anerdinwarpaint, Dragon Matrix 7, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, Kazorm, Lima, Nathan Welch Jr., Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, as we check out the latest fly-by-night operation to find its way into the Worldwound. Not much else to say beyond that, I think, so let's check out the Reliable Redoubt and see what's what. The Reliable Redoubt. A military outpost built along the walls of the canyons that riddle the Worldwound. The army who erected it clearly believed that the place offered some safety. Yeah, and how'd that work out for you? There's Yaker, waiting for our approach. But first, let's go ahead and toss up a full assortment of buffs. I think that's adequate for now.
Together, we stand.
Honestly, I think we're slightly over-leveled for this place, so we should be fine. Looks like this Hell Knight continued to fight the gargoyle, even from the air. They both fell to the rocks and perished. Well, good for them. Commander, come here, quickly. From the mountain, you see a raided camp and two groups of warriors, one wearing white and yellow armor, and the other in black. They are led by a tall man in white priest's robes. Some of the warriors glance around fretfully, their weapons shaking in their hands. You hear the screams of gargoyles from above. The beasts are approaching the camp.
Quickly, evacuate the wounded. The beasts are about to strike again. Use cloaks as stretchers. We've got to make it through. Paralictor, your people will have to cover us while...
2 more minutes left out in the open, and neither you nor I will have any troops left to order about, Crusader.
But the wounded...
Retreat to shelter!
The one called Paralictor makes a barely noticeable gesture, and the swords of his troops execute the wounded. If the man in white has anything further to add, his words are drowned out by the shrieks of gargoyles as they fall from the sky. The Paralictor will lead the unit to shelter. We need to get through to them. Yeah, we're on our way. It may be a moment. Seems like a nice little warm-up. Something to help shake the rust off.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
Yeah, that was easy. Slight ding on land because I misclicked the 5-foot step, but not a big deal. Whoop.
The Inheritor, guide my blade!
That was an interesting decision on his part. I suppose he just saw where the fight was going and decided to help usher it to its inevitable conclusion, which I do appreciate. Bastard Sword of Hope. +2 Mithril Bastard Sword, which heals the wielder on crit. Not bad. There are some alignment restrictions too, but honestly, that's not what's going to stop us from using it. The simple fact that it's a bastard sword, well, which unfortunately is one of the weaker exotics. I learned that playing Kingmaker. The sight before you is at once macabre and picturesque. A lifeless couple, a man and woman dressed in white and yellow priest's robes, lie on the ground surrounded by the bodies of dead gargoyles. They are tangled in death, the claws of the monsters are tearing at the human's clothes, and the largest gargoyle's talon has pierced the man's chest and punctured his heart. But before they died, he and his companion defeated the enemy. Suddenly, the woman opens her eyes. She doesn't look at you, but stares up at the Worldwound's horrific sky. Her pale lips open, and she exhales abruptly. The sun will never rise again. There's only darkness above me. Even the sky here is cursed. And we, along with it. Yaker, walking at the front, steps over the man's body without looking, but turns around at the sound of the woman's voice. The Mendevian faithful break too easily. Oh, if all Mendevian devotees broke easily, I would be much happier. Unfortunately, most of them have good health, unconquerable will, and a never-ending desire to moralize. Darren is jeering, but looks at the wounded woman with hesitation. He shrugs. She is not just wounded. I can see the signs of severe exhaustion. I wonder what happened here. All people are easily broken. The knights in pale armor help each other through the horror. But the knights in black only break each other, and everyone around them. Who are you? What's going on? I am a priestess of the Ardent Sarenrae from the Order of the Sunrise Sword. Next to me is Ashus Striegher, the head of our order. Sorrowful pride sounds in the woman's voice. He has led our forces on raids to the Worldwound many times. But this campaign... The gargoyles attacked a few nights ago. A vast number, we've never seen anything like it. Ashus organized our resistance with great skill. But while the monsters were distracting our fighters, a small group of them raided the camp and took our supplies. We were left without food and water in the middle of the Worldwound, where it's nearly impossible to find provisions. Unless, of course, you have access to Create Food and Water, or the Purify Food and Drink cantrip. But I do get the impression they're sort of ignoring those for the purposes of this plot point. We shared the last crumbs of our supplies and set off back the way we came. Everyone was suffering from hunger and thirst. We grew weak and could barely fight back when the gargoyles struck a second time. They snatched many of us away. I saw the pain on Ashus's face when he counted the losses. But he managed to rally us. We continued our trek, and soon came across traces of a recent battle. Someone had destroyed a troop of demon worshippers. In our desperation, we decided to follow the strangers, to warn them of the gargoyles and seek their help, having no idea that they were Hell Knights. But we received only scorn. Every gulp of water in my unit is accounted for, they said. They spared us 2 flasks and a sack of dried bread. They said we were allowed to keep the sack to use as bandages. 2 flasks between all of us. A sack for bandages. Hell Knights. Seela curls her fist, almost grunting through her clenched teeth. I'd rather ally with flesh-eating poisonous wyvern. Don't expect any goodness from those black tin cans. If you meet them, count yourself lucky you don't end up nailed to the nearest fence post. A leader has to take care of their own tribe first. All the scandalized gasps, how could he do such a thing, suddenly fall away when you're first faced with a hard choice. Are you going to take food out of your own child's mouth to feed a starving stranger? Yeah, that is a fair point. So then what happened? The gargoyles attacked. Despite how the Hell Knight's Paralictor had treated us, Ashus endeavored to help them and had us carry their wounded. But that monster had them slaughtered. Ashus was beside himself. It's difficult to conceive of such evil. He told our people to go with the Hell Knights to find shelter, while he stayed to cover our retreat. The woman exhaled softly. He was a strong cleric, but as he treated our wounded, he neglected himself. And he paid for it. Look, let's get you back on your feet. We can still try to salvage this. The woman pushes you away with a weak gesture. Expend your efforts on someone who can be helped. Leave me. My crusade is over. Come on, this Ashus guy may be dead, but you're still alive. We can get you on your feet. We can fix this. The woman looks at you wistfully. Why? So many deaths, so many sacrifices, such bravery, all for what? No, I will not go with you, stranger. My commander and I will die by what we lived for, compassion and nobility. I don't want to keep fighting for a world that bows to such laws. May the goddess forgive me. Farewell. The woman closes her eyes, exhausted. I'm sorry these good people treated you this way. If you don't have the strength to go any farther, rest. We will continue your crusade. I promise you. Yaker shakes his head. Commander, I'm not one to advise you, but you're wasting time on this fool, and the gargoyles will soon be back. That's their usual tactic. Fly up, regroup, attack again. I'm going back to my unit now, and I'd advise you not to stay here long either. Oh, and she's dead. Well, rest in peace, nameless NPC. We will take these items in your honor and have them properly enshrined in our quartermaster's inventory. I mean, look, it's sad she died. We tried to help her, she just gave up. Vex, I don't really see him as being the sort to get too hung up on that. Gotta keep moving forward.
Out of my sight!
Oh my.
Can't you just die already?
Yeah, see, that right there is exactly why we invest in combat reflexes. I hope we get at least one decent fight here. These guys are really kind of pushovers after the Plague Smilos. Oh, look at that. We actually procced the Oracle's Misery effect. Though, in looking at it, it doesn't appear to have actually applied the staggered effect. Which... hold on. Yeah, see? He still got his full attack scheme, so he definitely was not staggered. Which does imply that, unfortunately, the Oracle's Misery crossbow is kind of wasted on Darren.
The light take you!
Alright, let's go ahead and swap out the Oracle's Misery for the Crossbow of Judgment. Yeah, I feel like he'll get slightly better use out of that. Even after the attack, the tents at the Hell Knights camp are lined up neatly, looking like they're ready for a parade. Lots of vendor trash so far. Nothing all that useful. Well, Jeff, what happened, man? Come on. Ooh. That's not right. Muscle Warmer. +2 Hide Barding, which also grants cold resistance 10 and a +2 on saving throws versus movement impairing effects. Not too shabby. Though, aside from water elementals, I'm not sure there's really any enemies that inflict cold damage. Oh, shoot. I guess I haven't been handing out barding proficiencies. Though, I mean, in Kaz's case, that is intentional. Armor would just hold him back. Magic Essence, very nice. Alright, I think we're good. I'll do a more thorough sweep off screen. Demonic energy has polluted the earth, creating tumors filled with poison. There does seem to be a lot of that going around these days. Trust me, I've seen worse. Let's go ahead and top off real quick. Good enough?
Knight Commander, I presume. Your glory precedes you. I am Regill Derenge, Herelictor of the Order of the Godclaw, and temporary officer of the joint unit of Hell Knights and the Order of the Sunrise Sword. You and your people should take positions. The gargoyles are regrouping. We expect they will attempt to break through in 5 to 6 minutes.
The moment you step across the threshold, you're targeted with pale yellow eyes. A gnome with considerable gray in his hair, dressed in black armor, lowers his head slightly.
A Paralictor indeed. Impressive.
Are you in command of this unit? Oh, no? Then step aside and let me discuss the matter with the commander.
The gnome interrupts Darren confidently. You're suggesting we work together?
Forcibly joined. The leader of the Order of the Sunrise Sword was unable to get to safety, which is not surprising, considering his, shall we say, excessive scrupulousness and sluggishness. Given the extreme situation, I took command of his people.
Regill speaks with military precision and economy.
Just great. Paladins and Hell Knights all in the one troop. It's like catching the plague and the pox at the same time.
It's supposed to be good when different people unite. We're here for a common cause. But it still gives me the creeps for some reason. Hell Knights shouldn't be allowed to get their claws into our paladins. It's wrong.
Didn't you kill the last guys you worked with?
Indeed. The gargoyles were clearly trying to capture as many prisoners as they could. I don't know the reason behind these abductions, but I'm not about to give the enemy what they want. That is why all my people were ordered not to be taken alive. And as for the wounded, we didn't have time to get them to safety anyway.
Regill's answer is dry, almost disinterested.
Can you hear yourself? For the sake of principle, in order not to give the enemy what they want, you killed your own wounded. Helpless subordinates. Why does anyone still follow you?
Because we are Hell Knights. We know our duty.
Only someone who's never been responsible for the lives of others could feel any outrage at this decision. The wounded couldn't be saved. What good would it do to anyone if the rest perished along with them?
What charming people. Those fellows in black make Holrun look like a sweet old soul by comparison.
I hear that you also only gave them 2 flasks of water and a sack for their medical needs? Standing behind his commander, Yaker rolls his eyes. Oh, you are going to regret that.
I spared them the exact volume of resources I could sacrifice without risking my own people. However, the situation has developed, and I've already ordered they be given additional supplies. They are temporarily under my charge, and I can use their forces to rebuff the attack. They'll work for their water.
Regill raises his voice and speaks emphatically, ignoring a whisper coming from a group of knights of the Sunrise Sword. He seems to be reiterating his position for their benefit. I don't know, man. I feel like that might be an overabundance of caution. You're not going to roll any crits if you refuse to roll the dice. You've got to take some chances.
Noble Ashus and his Sunrise Swords have already done so. This is what it led to.
That's right. The chief is responsible for his own tribe. If he decides that he's responsible for the whole world, his own people will come to ruin. And if he wishes that someone else was responsible for his people, that means he's not fit to be chief.
Regill's harsh words cause a whisper among the knights in white and yellow. I'm not really sure how Vex would react to this. I mean, he's not exactly invested in the Paladin cause, and he has no real reason to actively like or dislike the Hell Knights. Well, aside from Yaker. Yaker disrespected him just a second ago, and he is going to pay for that. I think we'll forestall this conversation for now. We have slightly more pressing concerns anyway. Tell you what, Paralictor, how about we cut the chatter till after we deal with these gargoyles?
Agreed. Be ready, Commander. This attack may be worse than the last one.
I certainly hope so.
I won't let you hurt my friends.
Did you just hit Ember? Yeah, don't do that. Oof. Really need to bump up Waldjif's accuracy. Uh-oh. Looks like Ember's pinned down. There we go. That buys us some wiggle room. And we'll have Waldjif finish off this last one. Oh, wave 2 incoming.
Yet another obstacle.
It is weird that they block mounted charges during surprise rounds, but not charging on foot. I feel like that's an oversight. Thank you, Ember. Let's trim that cleric. Goodness. Well, better them than us. Cleric's down.
Thank you for amusing me.
Hey, look at that. I feel like we're already getting more mileage out of that crossbow of judgment than we did out of the Oracle's misery.
You won't survive me.
No glory without risk!
Yeah, no offense, Paralictor, but your guys kind of suck. Oh. Well, that is a problem.
Cover me, all right?
Nice, nice. We've still got that sleeper on the right, too. We'll have Seela take care of him. These guys do love their strafing attacks. No, Yaker. Anyway.
Endure this!
The Inheritor, guide my blade. The light, take you.
Oh man, we're getting slightly overwhelmed here. Level drain on risk. That's fine, though. That'll self-correct. Not really making a great first showing for yourself, buddy.
Make every strike count.
Let's re-secure our back line. We'll bring Waljip up to start slitting throats.
Stab you or zap you? Why not both?
Careful there, Zorm. That could kill someone. Yeah, I think we've just about got this. Shouldn't be too much longer now. Man, Regill is not having much luck over there.
Into the fray! The Inheritor, guide my blade!
Backline's clear. Let's start whittling down this last cluster.
Didn't know I had it in me.
Well, I certainly don't like that.
Refuse to surrender.
Did Regill just say he wanted to surrender? Wow, he is definitely not making a strong first impression here.
Distract them for me.
Welcome back, Regill. You're just in time to die.
You've crossed the wrong line.
And thus it ends. Not exactly the cleanest victory, but we got here. And to be fair, we were never in any serious danger. I think Ember's the only character who took any solid hits, and she never dipped below 50%. Alright, let's sweep the chamber, then we'll have one last chat with Regill. Ooh, Headband of Wisdom. Which we will toss to Lan. That'll boost his spellcasting and give him a nice +1 to AC. Hey there, buddy. What's up? We're still alive! Praised be Sarenrae! Really? No, do that again. Praise the sun! Fantastic. The skeleton of a man wearing armor from the time of the First Crusade. It's holding the skeleton of a child with strange proportions and animal paws instead of its right arm and leg. Grim. But let's see what we've got. Man, this guy sure had some weird stuff in his pockets. We'll just try not to think about that too much. And moving on. Alright, Regill. Let's chat. Regill gracefully stows his weapon and places his hands behind his back. You two, check the area. Mark any potential shelters that offer protection against aerial attacks. Quartermaster, inventory the remnants of the camp. I want to make sure that the gargoyles only abducted people and weren't interested in anything else. Send messengers immediately to our scout squads and order them to return to camp. And I need a full list of casualties. The sooner, the better. He turns to you and nods slightly. Commander, your arrival was well timed. Now we can finally talk. I am quite interested in the events that occurred at the Grey Garrison. And I suppose you have questions for me as well. Why the sudden interest in the Grey Garrison? Any shift in the balance of power during this war has a direct impact on my mission. If a new player appears who is capable of fighting demons effectively, then I am ready to support that person, with all the resources I have at my disposal. Regill speaks pensively, as if talking to himself. But naturally, I cannot blindly trust a stranger, even one marked by the gods. Yeah, I guess I can't really blame you for that. Takes me a while to warm up to folks, too. Sometimes I never do. So we understand each other. Thank you, Commander. Regill nods, more to himself than to you. Is there anything you'd like to know before we move on to more serious issues? Yeah, what are you guys doing out here? The same as you and your army, fighting a war against the demons. The Hell Knights have always been a part of the Crusades from the very beginning. We don't answer to Queen Galfrey, and we act on our own authority, but we serve the common cause. Discari's spawn have no place in the world we want to build. Regill barks out the final words. Funny, isn't it? Knights clad in black armor have been fighting this war from the off, but most people don't even know it. The face of the Crusades is a Mendevian paladin with the sword of Iomedae gleaming on their gilded armor. In that respect, my cousin Galfrey has a real flair for propaganda, I must say. For the Hell Knights, the Worldwound is just one of several targets. They expend much greater effort in book burning and suppressing slave uprisings. Yes, their order sent reinforcements here, but Mendev has always borne the brunt of this war. So, what does Paralictor mean, anyway? Sounds kinda dirty. I am the commander of this unit, and in the Order's hierarchy I am 2 steps lower than its leader. In the territory of Mendev and the Worldwound, there are a few who equal my rank, but I am the most senior Hell Knight officer for many leagues around. And yet you still got punked by these random gargoyles. Speaking of which, we should probably chat about all that stuff you did before we showed up. Of course. The Paralictor doesn't seem hurt or surprised. If you wish, I will explain my position in detail. All the soldiers killed at my order belonged to my unit. Therefore, the case is an internal matter for the Order of the Godclaw. You could send an appeal to the Order commanders, but the result is inevitable. Not only do the Order's rule and field operation guidelines not prohibit it, they even recommend a policy of death is preferable to captivity. So everything that happened, though it is surely lamentable and has deprived me of a few good fighters, is also a prime example of military necessity. Fair enough, but you try pulling that shit on me. It's not going to go well for you. Fair warning. Of course, you have the right to personal opinions and relations. Well, thank you. I do value your permission. If the incident is settled, I suppose we can return to relevant matters. Yeah, great. So what are you guys up to next, now that I've pulled your asses out of the fire? I will wait for my remaining fighters to return. What you see here is only a small part of my forces. As for my long-term plans, that depends on the results of our conversation, Commander. Regill narrows his eyes. Before we move on to serious subjects, I'd like to address an organizational issue regarding my unit. You may wish to be present. Yaker steps forward and salutes with a clenched fist to his chest. Paralictor, permission to report. During the first gargoyle attack, I determined it necessary to leave my post. I swam over the river, found the commander's army, and asked them to provide assistance. Regill nods. The reinforcements were much needed. You will earn a double salary for your resourcefulness, Yaker, and 100 lashes for abandoning your post. The young knight grows a little pale, but immediately salutes again. Yes, Paralictor. Oh, and there's our chance for payback for the eye-rolling incident. Don't forget, he dumped his armor too. You might be right. Regill doesn't take his eyes off the young knight, searching for signs of weakness. Another 10 lashes for improper treatment of Order property. Yes, Paralictor. This time Yaker doesn't grow pale, but only salutes and clenches his teeth. The Paralictor, the epitome of ruthlessness, the young knight singly devoted to his ideals. So far, so dull. Or is it? Could it be that our Sir Yaker holds a tender for his commander? I heard that sort of thing is rampant in the military. What a relief it is to know that such tawdriness could never afflict our valiant crusaders. Darren smirks. Isn't that right, Vex? You're not about to foist yourself on some poor lovesick fool who is unlucky enough to be under your command while knowing his love is doomed to be unrequited. You always gotta make it weird, Darren. Though I do, appreciate your efforts to embarrass me in front of the Hell Knights. That's cool. You know what? Let's not encourage him too much, but I don't want to shut him down either. Sounding awfully bitter there, Darren. Everything okay? I was merely pondering how Regill is dealing with this young man, and my thoughts happened to stray to my own bitter fate. However, I am in a slightly better position. My commander, meaning you, is not quite so dull a personage as Regill Derenge. Are these guys made of stone or what? They seem creepy, but I kinda like them. Everything is so strange. They march in columns through the thicket, even though there's a regular smooth road nearby. Don't even try to figure out how their minds work. You'll make yourself crazy. Although, I suppose it's a little late for you. Regill, who has watched you closely through the entire awkward conversation, nods to himself. Now for a more delicate issue. You, Commander, were interested in our dispute with the Knights of the Order of the Sunrise Sword, correct? Their forces in Canabris have suffered great losses in the demon attack, and now their leader has perished, and his troops are in trouble. They are reeling with no command structure. Their order will hardly be able to recover from the losses they've suffered. Yeah? So what? What's your point? These fighters aren't the finest material I've worked with, but if I assume formal command over them, I'll be able to reforge them into weapons of reasonable quality. One or two might even become true Hell Knights. The rest will be put to good use as well. Do you seriously think that these guys want to keep working for you after what you put them through? Though not the best, they are still warriors and knights. They know what discipline is, and that victory in war doesn't come without cost. Any among them who still haven't realized that aren't worth my time and effort. Yeah, fine, but why drag me into this? What's this got to do with me? A spark flashes in Regill's pale yellow eyes. I suppose, Commander, that for leagues around, from Canabris to Dresden and from Dresden to the cursed city of Iz, at the heart of the Worldwound, all of this pertains to you in one way or another. You are the catalyst that shifted an age-old balance of power, whether you meant to or not. Your own future, and much more, depends on the decisions you make here and now, even the ones that seem insignificant. Regill is interesting. You know, on the one hand, he does make very logical, strategic decisions, but his biggest weakness is that, of course, he completely ignores the human element, which for him is just a non-issue. It's fine as long as he's just dealing with Hell Knights, because of course they're trained to think that way. But then when you have people like the Order of the Sunset Sword, you get into those situations where his cold and calculating decisions just serve to complicate an already difficult scenario. You know what, Paralictor? I think these fine folks might be better off working for me. I'm not sure they'd really mesh with your style. Also, you guys kinda suck. Well then, we both have arguments to make. Let's see what these orphans say. Regill looks at the warriors in white and yellow, shifting cheerlessly from one foot to the other. Initiates of the Sunrise Sword, your leader is dead. The Order has suffered serious losses and will not be able to recover. You may return to Mendev to join another Crusader Order, and hope that they don't meet the same fate as the Sunrise Sword. Or you may remain under my command. I will not promise that it will be easy, or that our war-making will be constricted by your principles. What I can promise is this. Under my command, you will never again feel like helpless mice in the talons of a ravenous raptor. Does that mean we've worked off the precious resources you spent on us? The water, medicine, and bandages? Yells one of the knights in white and yellow. I wouldn't make such an offer if I thought you were useless garbage. The initiates of the Sunrise Sword consult with each other for a time, and then one of them, a young woman in knight's armor, steps forward. Your methods of warfare and your treatment of your allies goes entirely against our ideals, Paralictor. Commander Gottlieb has already said to you everything that should be said. We've decided to follow the commander in his march on Dresden. As you wish. It's difficult to tell from Regill's face whether he's disappointed or not. Well then, Commander, let's proceed to the main question and then put an end to this exhausting conversation. We should discuss the cooperation between your forces and my own. We do share a common enemy and a common battlefield. Why are you looking at me like that, Paralictor? Is this all just some sort of crazy test? Are you testing me? Regill lowers his head in a gesture that might be read as respectful. I do not believe I made any effort to conceal my interest in you, both as a new, strong leader in the region, and as the bearer of a highly unusual power. Of course I'd like to know what's inside your head. One could say that it's my duty. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Well, we are headed for Dresden. We figured we'd knock that place out, get a good foothold in the Worldwound. You know, save the world, all that jazz. I suppose you could come along if you really want to. Regill rubs his chin pensively. Dresden. An ambitious goal, but most reasonable. Imagine how such a victory would rally all the separate bands of today's Crusaders under one banner. And we certainly need a base of operations inside the Worldwound. I stand ready to support you. Moreover, I can accompany you in your campaign. However, I would remind you that the Hell Knights are outside of Mendev's jurisdiction. My unit and I will join your forces and obey your orders, but only for as long as I deem that our goals coincide. I like his eyes. They're still bright. Neither the darkness nor the paleness has taken them. For now. Hell no. We don't need the likes of these black-armored statues. I don't want to fight side by side with someone who will slit my throat if I'm weak and wounded. You can't defeat one evil by inviting an equal but slightly more organized evil into your ranks. Slightly more organized than the demons? I could consider that an insult. I've never dealt with Hell Knights before, but from what we've seen, they're serious fighters. Are they? I feel like they mostly just fell down. That's just what we need. And just think how that armor will look in the paintings they'll make about our battles. I mean, obviously we are going to recruit Regill. We're not going to skip any of the companions. Though we might end up killing a few of them eventually, if push comes to shove. That aside, the Raiders have actually shown keen interest in seeing Regill as part of the group. They're very curious about how he'll cope with our chaotic trickster style. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious about that myself. So he will almost certainly end up swapping in for Seela. And I mean, I will be sorry to see her go, and she does have slightly more firepower right now, I think. But in the long run, I'm hoping that Regill will make our adventures all the more amusing. Alright, Paralictor, I think we've got a deal. Yes, Commander. My forces and Regill Derenge are at your disposal. Neato Torpedo. I'll get him set up a bit later, probably between episodes. But I think we're at a good stopping point. It's a shame there's no easy way to really retrofit Regill so he has a mount. That's the one thing that I think is really going to hurt, is that loss of mobility. Not to mention, of course, having another animal companion really does boost the group's overall offensive capabilities. I'll have to give that some thought. Anyway, I think we've reached a good stopping point for now. We're pretty much done here, but I would like to do one last sweep just to make sure we didn't miss any loot. So we will hit the pause button for now. I'll canvass the map, head back to camp, get Regill all set up, and we will pick up here next time as we push ever deeper into the Worldwound. But with a new, perpetually cantankerous gnome in tow. Should be fun. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official social media feeds, or the official store pages. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things, or maybe even check out the Patreon. Links are in the description.
Because we are Hell Knights, we know our duty.